Hi, Ariana.
Hi, Barrett. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
So, how was it like to premiere at Tribeca?
Ariana, it was such a thrill and an honor. It was, it's when your goals and intentions meet like the present moment. It feels a little surreal, little tingly. I just felt I just wanted to keep saying thank you. I probably said thank you way too much, but I wanted to keep thanking Liza and Patrick and all the folks at Tribeca. So I think I probably said it a few too many times, but that's how I felt. Gratitude. These smaller off the beaten path projects of these like these shorts and all the films I've been seeing while I'm here. There's not a million avenues to share these with audience. So when you get to and we get to witness other people's work, it feels like a little miracle and it feels delightful. So I guess miraculous, gratitude, and delightful are my big adjectives to your question.
That's good. It feels like that feeling that I don't feel like a lot of people have, that you feel like you're like living a life of purpose. Like it's making all the sense.
I love that sentence. Yeah, living life of purpose. Yeah, you're right. Because there are so many days that we have that are about errands and keeping up with the structures of society and about, returning emails and texts, and which is interesting because it's a lot about what the show's about. The show's about how do I build a life in 2023 on a planet of 8 billion that feels that has purpose and sacredness and meaning, and not like later when I retire, but today. How do I build that life today? So that's exactly what the show is about, and that is exactly what that experience of sharing the show to an audience feels like. Yeah, this is on purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you and Mark have been friends forever. How did you guys become friends?
That's a fun question. We became friends by growing up in New Orleans together, by going to the same high school. The very, very beginning was his older brother Jay and I. I'm a drummer. I'm a mediocre to good drummer, and he and I would play a lot of Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix and Pearl Jam and Red Hot Chili Pepper covers in my attic after school. So Jay and I became friends playing music after school, and then I met Mark through Jay, and he was also really identified as a musician then. And then we worked on a gardening documentary, which is our first collaboration. This is in the year 2000. We traveled the country. I traveled the country hosting people about why they garden. Jay directed it, and Mark did the soundtrack to it. And it was our very first collaboration. And we did this wonderful documentary about why people garden. And we've been friends and collaborators ever since.
What was it like to work together on this one? Because it's mostly just you two in a motel.
Yeah, great question. It was a delight, to use that word again. We our paths have not always been in the same city or on the same project, but we very much respect and love each other. So part of the dream for the project is like, let's just get in the room. Let's have big, chunky, meaty scenes to do together, and let's like really bring this dream into fruition. So it was a delight. Ariana, we actually rehearsed the television show like a play because I'm really from the theater world. So we rehearsed for weeks like a play so that when we could get in the room, we could do these really long takes. And we lit a lot of the movie 360 so we could really move around like it was a stage play. So there were times when we were shooting where we'd have 17 to 22-minute takes, that would fill our memory cards to the consternation of the camera people. But it was so fun, so we could really do this scenario together over and over and in different ways and try different takes and really listen and hear each other. And it was moving and fun. And our 20 plus year history together gave us kind of it was like we were on day 90 of the shoot on day one. There was a comfort and an ease and a trust on day one that normally takes a lot longer to achieve. So it was a real gift.
as a director, was it easier to edit with these longer clips, or when you were editing, you're just like, oh, it would have been better if it was 3 minutes, just from a directing standpoint?
It was easier because we did a lot of two camera stuff. So we had a lot of matching things. And I went into it with the intention, which wasn't always possible because, you know, there'd be a boom or something in a shot, but with the intention of always using matching coverage. So for example, as opposed to having an over the shoulder of me, of Mark, and I mean, having over shoulder of me from Mark's shoulder and vice versa, and then just using the best clips, I really, in the editing room, worked to keep what was the matching coverage from that moment. What was actually happening between these two human beings in that moment? Even if one of the other ones, there was something wonderful that you liked about that shot, but I'm like, yeah, that wasn't actually what happened during that run of the scene, you know? So it made it easy having those rules of wanting to keep to, all right, which moment are we using as opposed to what is the best? So yeah, you know, as days go on, as I get more opportunities to do this, or if I get more opportunities to do this, I want to hold to that aesthetic because I find there's something very human and real and harder and easier about it that I really like.
Yes. We were
Yeah.
talking about different forms of storytelling that's at Tribeca. Why did you guys decide to make this kind of a episodic TV series instead of, let's say, a short film or a movie or a longer TV series?
Oh, yeah, great question. You know, we talked a lot about it. And our decision was that the state of the very, very small independent film that maybe had this wonderful time in the 90s, you know, and where a film like, for example, Peter Dinklage's Station Agent could had this tiny film could just really come out and be part of the national conversation, or Clerks, or, you know, you take these smaller movies that could do really well in the festival circuit and then really could reach a larger audience. That's a little harder right now. From what, you know, I learned from getting to work with the Duplass brothers, who know so much about the independent film scene. And there is this new uncharted territory of like, well, what if you produce whole seasons of television that are as small as a thing like Clerks? Is there a market for that? So it was actually began with that question because we know what that paradigm was with independent film, but this new world, which, you know, I am part of at Tribeca, with not just my showcase but Showcase B and C, of these smaller shows. Is there a world where platforms and streaming services will buy a whole season, and we're putting our chips on that there is that demand. So that's the business side of it. And then B, the answer is that I think, from, you know, I want to be part of the solutions. I want to be part of the better conversations. And I'm watching my peers and my daughter's peers really listen to episodic TV because it fits a little easier into their life. It's harder to sit down and give someone 120 minutes of your time if you don't really know them as a artist, but it's not that hard to give someone a shot for 26 minutes of your time. Like, I'll watch an episode of this show, I'll give it a shot. And then if it resonates with you, like, I'll watch another one. There's something palatable about it where you're almost respecting your audience in a way where, like, I know you're busy. I'm not Scorsese yet. I can't ask for 3 hours and 45 minutes, right, for the new film. But maybe I could request 26 minutes of your time to check out this small independent television show episode. So those are the two reasons.
Yeah, I completely agree as a consumer because, like, I'm willing to do 26 minutes, but if it's like 9 minutes, I'm suspicious about it. But if it's longer, like 2 or 3 hours, it's just like, what do you want from me? And like, you couldn't tie this down neither. So I definitely, as a consumer, can definitely understand just breaking it up, even if when you add it all together, it was in fact like two of these movies. But What was your favorite scene to write, your favorite scene to direct, and then your favorite kind of aspect to act in?
Well, a large portion of the series takes place in a motel room during the course of this one long, long night. And I'd say that the introduction to that room, when they're just getting in the room, and as an audience, you don't really know what they're doing. That was one of my favorite stuff to write for a couple of reasons. It there's so much mystery involved. You really, because it's the beginning, you don't have to answer a lot of questions. I found it very funny. And I also was I love these characters so much. I love how much they care about each other. I love how imperfect they are. I find them a joy to write. Um, and then, so going back to that first point, there's something delightful about writing the beginnings of things because, as you get into three-fourths or ends of acts, or even especially the endings, which are, very challenging, you're required as an artist to start tying up some things, to answering some mysteries. You have none of those requirements in the beginning. You can be as mysterious and strange and elusive as you want to as an artist in the beginning. And I love that freedom. My favorite part to shoot, conversely, was the end of episode 6. So without saying too much, not that it's a huge nail-biting question mark reveal, but because we shot this show over 2 years, when we shot the end of episode 6, it really was after the end of this huge journey, so it was probably a year after that first day we started, and we were back together. We were different people in a way. We were coming out of COVID. We shot during COVID, but now all of a sudden all the crew is unmasked. We were unmasked. There's a wrestling scene, so we weren't worried about we're actually wrestling. We're still doing testing and stuff, but there was a dearness to it. We knew it was the last scene of the last episode of the first season. We were outside in nature, and we again had 2 cameras going, so we had a lot of freedom. So at one point in the episode, I run up a hill, which not a lot of people knew I was going to do. But because we were on smaller cameras with a smaller crew, the camera people could kind of chase me up this hill, as did Mark's character, Pete. So that was probably one of my favorite ones. You had a third. What was the third question? What?
Your favorite one to write, to act in, and to direct?
Yeah. So that was my favorite one to write. Favorite one to act. It was the final one. Favorite one to direct. I'm going to put this one. And favorite's a strange word, but it's one of the one what always comes up as kind of the epitome of doing this show, is episode 5, when the wonderful actor Karen Pittman enters the show. At that point, my character Carol has been through a lot, and he's covered in all this stuff, which I again won't say what it is. He's also in his underwear, and he also has a bike lock around his neck. And Ariana, I'm still directing the show at this point. So I'm acting and directing Karen Pittman from the morning show and Mark Duplass from the morning show. And these very, I've got really capable actors who have worked with really high level directors. And I'm in my underwear. I'm covered in filth with a bike lock around my neck, trying to be like, okay, guys, so you're going to come in here. We're going to have the lights here. Everybody, and I'm trying to get everyone, and it's middle of the night. And I'm talking in this very serious voice. And then also, as soon as I yell, I actually have the camera person say action. Then I have to go into character, and be this other man who's at this very critical moment of being broken. And it was so fun and so funny. And that's one of my favorite moments of directing the show, that first season.
Yes, I would say probably the funniest to me, without giving too much away, is we see them 6 months later, and just the different places that they are, that one is flourishing and one is just floundering, and even just how it's directed and shot, that someone's in this super nice car and this other one is just like, are you being held captive somewhere? It's just kind of just hilarious and just like, oh wow. Friends can be interesting, and sometimes it's not great to go like, oh, if you jump, I jump, because not jumping.
Oh, that's so well said.
Yes.
I agree. My sister, who's a producer on this show, is here in New York with me, and she was going to see a friend this morning for coffee who she hadn't seen in 10 years. And right before she left, she said to me, well, I don't know how he's doing. Like she didn't all of a sudden after she got ready, she's like, she was the whole idea of scheduling this coffee with him is she assumed that he was going to be who he was a decade before. But right as she reached for the doorknob, she's like, oh, I don't know what human being is going to walk through this door. Is he hurting? Is he broken? Is he look physically different? Is he going through a hard time? Is he thriving? We kind of want to lock the people in our life at the point that they make sense to us, especially with siblings and relatives. But that isn't always the person we then meet. Sometimes weeks later, sometimes days later, in this case, months later, like the same Homo sapien, but a very different person.
Yes, but then you don't want to feel bad by being better than them, but also like you don't want to make yourself small. It's weird to have like these lifelong friendships and how you have to go with the ebbs and flows, and sometimes it's not the same time as your ebbs and flows.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You don't want to feel better than them, but you also don't want to feel worse than them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's like that thought of if you're an identical twin that like you don't want to weigh a pound more than like you always want to weigh a pound less than your.
Oh, I never thought about that. That's so true. I've never thought about that. Of course.
Yes. I'm not a twin, so I don't have this, but I remember reading that somewhere. I'm like, I could see that.
Wow. And a few twins that I know so often dress in the same outfits. I mean, I know some of the younger twins I know, like I have young daughters. So it'd be a really tricky thing if one had to buy a size that's slightly larger or smaller, then you wouldn't be able to be like, whoa, wait, where's that?
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. This was great. I would love to talk to you about future projects, and congrats on this. Enjoy your moment.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to future talks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.